Everyone. We'll get started at the top of the hour. This is being recorded. We had some bugs with Zoom telling us that we were 2 hours ahead instead of 1 hour ahead. We're in Oslo today in the beautiful Spaces office.
It is fantastic.
It is fantastic, which we've moved into a few weeks ago here in Oslo. First time in these offices. And I would like to welcome everyone to the first talk of many, I hope, called Inbound Agency Life. I'm personally delighted to be doing this. It was an idea I came up with a few years ago. And we're going to be talking about growing inbound businesses, one talk at a time. I'm here with Joakim Fagerbakk.
So well done.
I know, because I was interviewing Barbara this morning and she gave me a lesson on how to pronounce your surname.
Okay, that's good.
So that's how I know there. If everyone is coming online, thank you very much. Can you give us a bit of a thumbs up if you can see the screen and the sound is okay? We might just check with everyone that our levels are good. I think we can switch on. Yeah, we're getting that. We've got somebody in the chat. Let me just check there. Perfect, you look fun. Astrid, new best friend. Thank you. We will keep going then. So today's talk is about how much is your inbound agency worth? We are not afraid of talking about money here at Grow Group because really at the end of the day, apart from having a lot of fun and doing a lot of good work, it is about, money and profitability. And we're going to talk about getting your inbound agency investor ready. Back to this. The agenda we're going to have today. Now I'm going to do my best to keep us in a 30, 35 minute, maybe 40 max window. Now, we could probably talk about this topic for hours on end. So in order to stop that happening, I'm going to give you an agenda of what we're going to cover today, which is who we are. First of all, let's get that out of the way and why you should listen to us. Like, why are we sitting here giving advice on how much your agency is worth? So let's get that particular piece out of the way. Then we're going to talk about the 5 things that investors are looking for when they're investing in a business, but specifically for us, an agency. We're going to show you a valuation tool on how to value your inbound agency. And then we're going to say, what do you need to do today? Little checklist at the end that you can write down to get yourself motivated on, well, what can I do if this is something I want to do to get my business investor ready in the future? And there's a few of us on the line, which is great. I'm delighted to see you there. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. This will be recorded. So we will have questions at the end. And we know, thanks to Astrid, that the questions panel does work. So let's get going. So who are we? Now, essentially, we are the Grow Group. We are an inbound agency consulting group. And we help inbound agencies with the 5 topics of running a successful inbound agency. And that is your strategy, your growth, your services model, your sales, and then your marketing. Once those 5 pillars are strong and they have a good success formula, your business is in a really good place to be. 3 of us at the moment, but we work with a lot of different people and consultants and contractors as well. Katerina, myself, and Joakim, who we like to call Mr. Spreadsheet.
Thanks for that.
You're very welcome. You'll see why now when he gets started on the financials. So now, why would you listen to us? Like, what are we doing sitting here being giving you advice? Well, I'm going to tell you why. We've 18 plus years in running inbound agencies in Sydney, Dublin, Oslo, and London. So we've a little bit of global experience when it comes to an inbound agency. Combined, showing our age, Joakim, as we sit here in a nice shade of silver.
Down for the majority of those years.
Yeah, you might too. So we have combined, myself, the 3 of us, have 55 years of business experience. So when you're talking to us about your inbound agency, we are bringing experience of a business nature to the conversation as well. And I think thirdly, if not most importantly, we are on your side. We actually want to help you succeed personally and professionally. I think we all have our vocations in life, and somehow both myself, Katerina, and Joakim have really found this inbound agency community the one that we want to help the most. I think we could be helping lots of different agencies or lots of different industries with our experience. But for me, it's 10 years working as an inbound agency owner and consultant, and that's our choice that we want to do. So that's why we're here. So what we believe, so giving you a bit of an example of our belief, well, actually what we know based on why are SaaS and services businesses successful. They have three key things. They are scalable. They have a scalability factor. Whatever formula they have, it's something that an investor could scale. They have a global reach. They might not work in different offices physically, but they are able to sell across the borders and into different countries. And their margins are strong. Now, we know this because of the experience that I have had, and myself and Katarina, but from Joakim's side, he brings a lot of telecom and software services and people services businesses experience to the book as well. So that's what we believe and what we know, and we have a lot of facts to do that. Hopefully that's given you enough reason. I'm not going to get into any more. If you want to know, you can give us a shout about what we actually believe. And who's in the circle right now? So the Grow It Agency Circle has got 5 particular agencies that we've got some proven track record with. Maybe you might share, Joakim, a little bit of a brief glimpse about what the kind of work we've done with some of the agencies here.
Yeah, what we've done, for instance, in some of them might even be listening in here. We can take Clodagh at the bottom, which is a Danish agency that were fantastic founders. I think they had an idea to grow their business substantially by the end of last year. We got in contact and we agreed on a plan to do that. And we have started since, and I think there's going to be more than a doubling of the revenues from last year into this year under a fairly structured way to take that forward. And I think it's just an excellent work being done by those people. If we take Do Idea, which is a Swedish agency who's very strong on, they're coming from the CRM side, moving into inbound, they have really set the target this year that they want to prepare for a significant growth. Going 5 times revenue within 3 years. But they also know we cannot do that with the way we're set up right now. So it's really a matter of putting the governance and the structure in place to take a giant leap going forward. And that's also something we went in and started to work with around April, May, both on the investor side, but also on an advisory side.
Yeah.
Penguin in Tel Aviv is a fairly new client that we're starting with, which is also where we see great potential in that business, where they can do significant improvements, even though they are a diamond partner. They have managed fantastically well over the last years to grow their business, but also growing their challenges when the business grows.
So we're not fresh out of the gates here. We have been sitting down and doing some work and actually not just planning with these businesses, but seeing results. And that's why we're finally here now, a few months later, actually able to talk from a place of confidence. So let's get down to it. There are 5 essential things that you need to get ready in your inbound agency if you want an investor to seriously consider investing in you. And we're going to break these down step by step. That's it. The first one, I love that this is the first one. This is people. I've often heard Joakim talk about the services business is a heads business. It's about people. So Joakim, can you elaborate on the importance of people to an inbound agency or an investor?
I think everyone who runs an agency knows that it's the biggest asset you have is actually the people you have on board. But it also poses the biggest liability or the biggest challenge for you to take it forward. And this is really also reflected in everything. It's reflected in the financials. 2/3 of your business at least is related to the people you have on board to run the business. And you need to invest in that 2/3 of the business to make it right. And that comes down to everything, to have the right person in the right place, to have the founders on board, to have a clarity on what you're going to do and having that clarity aligned all across. And also making sure that these people are following the market. Because right now the market is enormous and the penetration is low. So even though you think you set the right organization in place, you have to reorganize, you have to reinvest in people, you have to continuously both hire and train.
Yeah.
And as an investor, of course, it's extremely important because that can be a very fragile setup if that is not in order when you come in and look in an agency.
Yeah.
And you want to create scalability out of the way you grow your staff.
I found that fascinating, to be honest, that it was 2/3 of the business that you're, 2/3 of your agency, the costs are around your people. And if they're not in your agency, well, that's something you really got to look at. I think an investor, if they saw that it was only 10% of your costs, that would be something that they would consider, because it is a people business. It is a heads business. It is about having experts on board. And I guess, we all have to think of that, the days we're having frustrations with our people, the importance of working through those. It's difficult to hire again.
It is difficult. And it's I think that it is just so important to stress this. That's also why I put it up first when you asked me,
what's the most
most important one. And I think also for any investor, at the end, you do invest in the mind of other people, in the capability.
Yeah.
And I think the partners that are also investing together with us, we always say that you want to do it with the people that you actually enjoy working with, because then you can easily align, you can easily drive towards the same target, and it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. And then with that, you want to think about the investment of time. If you're not having a weekly meeting with your staff, why or who is? If you're not investing in their personal development, if you're not investing in their whole life, are they happy at work? Because they're 2/3 of the investment of your business. So potentially there could be 2/3 of the value of your business. So it's really important to acknowledge the people and to sit down and go, do you have the right people in your business? Are they on board with you? Are they working with you? Or are they making your life very difficult? And if not, you've got to sit down and understand that. So people, number one. Number two, financials, Mr. Spreadsheet. Remember, we're here now for a limited amount of time.
No, but of course, investing in a business, financials is a key item to look at.
The numbers, obviously.
The numbers, definitely. Yeah. And of course, looking into inbound agencies, they have something really, really interesting, which is generated by a little bit by this ecosystem that I think initially was created by HubSpot and a few of the other software. And that is to create a recurring revenue out of a service business that generates, monthly value back to the client. So looking at the financials, you want to break it down to, you can say, the sales figures. What sort of volumes does this agency produce in terms of number of sold recurring retainers per month? What is the average pricing on those? How do those actually reflect down on the bottom line? How much does it cost to service those contracts that you have? And also, I would say, how much cash flow does it generate? Because if the market is growing and the penetration is low, you need cash to grow. And that cash should be generated through your own business, most likely. I think something we've seen in the agency, we looked at 40, 50 agencies, which is very, very underestimated, is the way you price your services. And this is something that has a huge impact, because whatever you can fix on the top line goes straight through to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So financial is a very much a key item that we drill through.
Yeah.
On the asset side, as I said before, you don't have to invest a lot in assets in terms of, you don't need to build a factory to invest in a lot of things. You might invest in a few software support services, but otherwise it is the people that you actually do the investment in. And that's why I said people is actually the first one. And it will be reflected in the financials, as I said. Yeah.
And not only, I think this is something we're coming across all the time, it's not only knowing the financials and seeing the financials at the end of the year, it is your ability to tap into that financial dashboard quickly. Like you should be working with a system that pulls the financial information at any one time. To wait for the end of the month before you know whether you're profitable or not, to wait until the end of the quarter, or even worse, and I've seen it, to wait until the end of the year. That doesn't mean you just don't have a good handle on your business. So knowing that you're, analyzing the financials is good enough, but you must work with a system that's got an ability to create a dashboard for you quickly, so that you have a view into the future of your financial situation at any one time, whether ever you want it.
I mean, financial is, of course, historic figures, but they should give you an idea of the trends and also give you some guidance on what is actually working. Do more of that. What's not working, you actually cut out or change the way you do it.
Yeah, perfect. So 2 down, 3 to go.
Yeah.
What could be next?
Yes.
Know your market. Now, strategy and clarity. we're very lucky. A lot of us have worked with HubSpot. I think most of the people that are on this webinar, but maybe going into the future, this is going to be recorded and you're not working with HubSpot. But one thing that HubSpot has been very good at teaching agencies from the very beginning is pick your buyer persona, get specialized on a particular niche industry that you're going to market to. So understanding that we know those two basics, what in addition to that is actually about knowing your market is attractive to an investor for an inbound agency?
Yeah, I think, first of all, of course, for the last few years, the market has a very low penetration and a high growth. So in one way, you can say you have an apologizing market. You will grow by just being in the market. The challenge is that the market is getting educated, which is also, of course, very good. But that means that customers are putting up higher requirements. They want to have better content. There's going to be competitors out there, etc. And that actually drives a need that you need to define, okay, we are specifically good, for instance, in producing content within eHealth. So that might be an area that you focus on. Or we are really good in putting their whole systems together. Now we can actually put the ERP system into, if it's HubSpot, for instance, and make the figures much more integrated. And that's part of our business that we're going to grow further. Or we are actually tapping into the sales arm of the businesses and seeing that's an area where we are specifically good. So it could be both that you're moving into a specific area of expertise being sales enablement, or it could be that a specific content producing, or it could be some add-on feature like, for instance, GDD, similar services or integration services, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know and understand that. Once you have defined that, you can also put the value on it and saying, this is how much we want to acquire. And it could be geographically boundaries, but it could also be this is actually something we can do partly remotely. So we can increase our total market size to go after outside our boundaries of a specific city or a specific country.
Yeah.
So this is, for an investor, you want to see, are you able to define that? Once you're able to define that, you know, okay, these people know, or at least have done the exercise, and you can challenge the assumptions. But of course, when the assumptions are there, you can see they actually thought it through. Yeah. They defined it, and it has a value.
That's really good.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think we're seeing this on the other side with agencies who actually specialize in a particular topic. We'll use eHealth as an example because we were speaking about them recently. If you have an IMC and a content person and a project manager who are working in a pod and they are all working with eHealth clients, like their knowledge and their depth of understanding gets so much better. They become experts on that particular topic, as opposed to having an IMC and a project manager and a content person in a pod in an agency working on 5 different agencies. It's a bit like like you can be a master of a few things, but you can be a generalist on a lot. And that gives somebody a satisfaction to go, I am a really good expert on that. And then back into, you can then tell the investor, we have experts in a particular niche because we know our market and that's what we've got. We've put a bet on something, and you have the confidence to explain that to the investor as well.
And that's why also it says clarity. I mean, for anyone putting money somewhere, the more clarity you get, the more comfortable feeling is it for someone to put the money into your business or into your hands. Yeah,
that's great. Cool, thank you. So 3 and number 4, have your house in order. Like, what do you mean by this? Like, the agencies are organized. Come on, they've got their software and they've got their tools. What do you mean by having your house in order?
I think this comes really back from the background. Coming from telecom. Telecom is where you measure everything. You start off, you don't commercially launch until you tested and retested the processes, because very quickly you're going to scale and put on not only a few more clients, but hundreds of thousands or even millions of clients in very short time. Mm-hmm. That means that everything has to work once you scale.
Nice.
And that is, of course, now we're talking about people's business. So to have the house in order, and I mean, the plumbing has to be right. Because the bigger you get, right now you can see for the last few years with this high growth, a lot of companies have grown very well on top line. But bigger companies also means bigger challenges or bigger problems. Yeah. We see so many tiered partners on high tier levels that are super challenged on bottom line and stopping to sell, starting to have to work internally to solve critical fires. And it is really not the way an investor would like to see when they come in and saying, listen, just look on my historic top line figures and it's just going to continue. But there's no bottom line, and there's really internally a big mess trying to deliver different processes depending on clients or depending on who's running the service delivery, no recruitment process, etc., etc. There's so many things in here to really take a look at. So we have created this sort of playbook setup to at least align the major activities and make sure that the house is in order.
Yeah. And then you can confidently grow at scale. I think that's something we're experiencing over time. And we talked about it earlier on today. The bigger the business, the bigger the problems. But you can solve them. And if you have an ability to show an investor, yes, we've grown. Yes, we got bigger problems because we grow, but we solved them really quickly. And we can confidently take on more bigger problems because that's business, right? It's always changing. There's always new things. And there's a security there going, because you have your bases covered, you know you have your governance, you know you have your board, your regular meetings, your regular financials, you're in control of your business. When a big problem comes on your desk, it doesn't derail the whole business for 6 months. Like I've seen that over and over again. One person leaving an inbound agency at a fragile state can set them back 6 months. That's what you want to stop doing. If one person leaves, it hurts the business, but it doesn't tear it apart for 6 months. Very important to have your house in order. And it's not the most attractive part of running an inbound agency. I'm sure, well, I know when I opened mine, I certainly wasn't going, yay, I want to get all the procedures done. But it is the essentials of get that right, or get the help, get some people in that love procedures and running an office.
It just makes a huge difference. And it actually leaves more time to creativity, leaves more time to do work with knowledge management and develop.
Yeah.
Instead of just doing firefighting all across, and firefighting increasing in time, and then you're creating other challenges within that. That actually is also a big issue. Let's see, someone stepping in.
A bit of background noise. I had to do a shush. There you go. That's why it's live.
Yeah.
Can't edit it out.
True.
We're professionals. Let's keep going. So the last one here, number 5, I had to throw a little cheers in there, is show customer success. We're all very used to doing this, making case studies. We might not do it as often as we should, because in an agency, you're constantly going out getting the next client, or you're delivering a service. It's an important thing to do, to stop at least once a month and analyze, who did we do a good job with that we could interview, we could do a case study with, whose story that, a client came to you, they had a challenge, but you solved their problems, and how you did that. Why is that important for an investor? Surely that's way down. Is it in the top 5?
Yeah, it is. Really, customers at the end, that's the top line of your business, because what you're looking at when you value a business is to see what future cash flow generation can you manage. And that cash flow should not come from founders or shareholders. That cash flow should come from customers. And customer will only give you their money when they are happy and they want to continue to work with you. It's really that simple. So the interesting part again is that to have recurring business, which is almost like a subscription service, is highly valuable. And if you have contracts of 12 or 24 months and can show a very low churn, which means that customer have not left your business for a long time, and they continue to work with you year over year over year on the retainer business, that is a very strong signal that something is actually working really well. In the opposite, if you're taking on a lot of project-based sales where you could also be a good business, but it might not be dominating your business, but you can see that actually adds on and gives you a way into a customer to get them into a retainer. The challenge with having too much of one or the other is that you want to make sure that whatever you do well. And as an investor, you just want to go through and see that they have been really successful. The more value you manage to present to a client, the more security, or the more sort of collateral you're building up in your agency.
Right.
Towards competition that is coming, of course.
So recurring revenue, recurring customers, keeping your people who are experts and specialists, and having your house in order. That sounds like the top 5 things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a revolution, is it? I mean, I would say anyone could sort of say, yes, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to the execution and sort of the process to get there and make this happen.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of people are challenged, because you come to the office in the morning, there's another few mails to read, a few sales calls, and it sort of drifts along. And every month you lose in doing this, you lose valuation. It will just create maybe a healthy salary at the end of the day, but you're not building value in your business. And I think that's all across the line what we've seen. I think that is more the majority of the agencies at the moment. And with the market that is becoming more mature, the ones who actually can stand out are the ones who can manage to get things in order.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one of the big, this was my hook. This is what grabbed everyone's attention and got all the sign-ups. So let's not skirt around it. How much is your inbound agency worth? Now, we have developed a calculator, and I'm not going to go into the calculator as in we're going to go through it, but I have it, and we did a screenshot, and we're just going to talk about a particular example of, because of all the work that you've done with inbound agencies and the formula of services business and software business, we're going to go through some numbers here. We just pretended to take a number from an agency, and we'll talk through these numbers. Now, if you want this inbound agency valuation tool, we're not very fancy here because we've just started out. It is an Excel spreadsheet with the formulas in it. So if you want it, just drop me a line and I'll email it to you, and then we can talk through it. But for the moment, this is where we're at. This is why I called him Mr. Spreadsheet. We're here in a spreadsheet. So talk to me about this valuation tool. From the beginning, what's the kind of the background of this?
Yeah, it's really quite simple. It's really just to try to assume what sort of cash flow your business could be generating over time, and then discounting that back to today's value and saying, okay, given that everything is in order that we talked about, you have these 5 pillars under control. But you can also see that you can do more, and you think you should be able to generate future cash flow. So in this case, we just put up a figure which is sort of a generic figure that we've seen. Let's say the agency has $1 million in turnover, which means the yearly sales is $1 million.
Yeah.
You might have 5% bottom line, which means that you do $50,000 before tax. Then you pay taxes, and I just put that at $15,000. Which means that the top one there says that my agency made about $35,000 after tax last year. After
all the expenses, every single tiny expense. So really, when you boiled it all down, there was 35 grand left.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really the reasoning is that that's the cash that would be left for who's ever founded or invested in the business.
Got it. Okay.
And now you're in the growth market to say, actually, we will do well. We're going to grow this net profit, not the top line, but the net profit is going to grow with 50% per year for the next 2 years.
So next year, my business is going to be from 1 million a year to 1.5 million.
Well, I'm talking about net profit.
Oh, your net profit. Okay.
So it will actually grow with another $17,000 the next year. So it will be, what is that, 52,000. And the year after that, there will be another 50%. So that would be 75, let's say between $75,000 and $80,000.
Okay, great.
In 2 years. So you're going to almost triple the bottom line in 2 years.
Great. So that's the valuation. So then working on those assumptions, and this is based on all your experience working with telecom and services and SaaS businesses, the valuation of my business is then just under the million. So really, roughly, if we look at your yearly sales, is potentially what an investor would pay for the business. Now, they're not magically going to come along and give you a check. Are they going to give me a check for $1 million because I have sold $1 million? What's the usual way of this would work with an investor?
This would be sort of a tool to evaluate, to at least give you a feel for here's somewhere where we should meet. But then again, let's say, okay, we do have some challenges. We're not really on board with all these things that we're talking to, or what an investor would look at. That would then be discounted on the value. And that could be in several ways, saying that we don't really believe that this is reflecting the true value. It could also be that, say, listen, we're not willing to pay the money up front. It might be a partial payment, and partial will be paid over the years when you actually showcase that, yes, these assumptions are correct.
Right.
And here we've seen so many different models. Of course, the benefit is that the bigger you get, the more organized you get, you can also get a much more stability in future cash flow. being smaller and being a little bit unorganized, the stability and future cash flow is really dependent on each and every one of the individuals, and you have to account that when you look into it to invest into it. You cannot really calculate in the future cash flow to the same extent you would if it's a big running business for several years with very good track record. So the sooner you get started to get things in order, actually, the higher the possibility that you will actually put a very nice, solid business foundation to run. And overall, at the end, it's two ends that's going to meet. You have built up a value, you have a certain emotional connection to the business and to clients. And it most likely, if that is strong, that also means that the people coming into your business would like to have people staying on board. So,
that's right. Yeah. So getting those, and I think, something I put a bet on a long time ago was going inbound in my inbound agency, but with an exit out in the future. What are the types of companies that would be interested in potentially buying an inbound agency? Like if I look at some of the big agencies out there, the big media agencies, the big PPC agencies, the big old school advertising agencies, are they the type of people that are interested in buying a smaller inbound, maybe 10, 15 people to bring that umbrella in? Would that be a possible acquisition investor?
Potentially. I mean, right now, I think the ecosystem of inbound has reached the stage where more and more agencies are seeing we need to work together, because the software in itself has grown from more of a marketing software to sales to web development, and it's becoming more of a complete platform setup, which creates more challenges to run it all in-house. And then the discussion has started between agencies also, let's put our eggs into the same basket and let's do this bigger, because we can go up to bigger clients. And that's, I think, specifically for those running on HubSpot, which is also moving more towards enterprise and larger companies. There are challenges where all of a sudden you run companies who have offices in 12 markets. You need to manage these services in more than your home market. So the ecosystem of inbound agencies is really changing. It's really changing. And the valuation would be really dependent on those who have something specific and a clear idea where to go. Those would be the one who could stick out with the value. There are a lot of new ones popping up. I think the ones who are looking to invest, we've seen since 2015 a huge investment interest in the digital agencies in general. I think inbound is still a little bit behind, and we are actually looking into the US. It's very, very now becoming quite a high interest. Even companies like Deloitte and
they've started to invest. I've seen that. So really starting to think of your inbound agency, which I think a lot of people didn't. They would have started out the business as they wanted to build websites, or they wanted to do, for me, I just wanted to do sales and marketing consulting for people, and now it's grown. I really didn't think of it in the way of it turning into an asset for myself until the last few years. No more than real estate. If you had a house right now, I think we all know nobody's going to let that go into disrepair. You know that it's going to increase in value. So in a very similar way with your inbound agency, what we're talking about here, getting the investment right, taking care of your house, painting it and keeping it all in order, the things that you would do if you should start to think about your inbound agency as a potential sale opportunity, or you're going to leave it as an investment, like a hereditary to somebody, maybe one in your family or friends. It's a legacy, but it really is an asset right now, and quite an attractive one to many different agencies. So.
And also to create future stability, because the market will change, and when you have things in order, you can manage challenges in the market, because you know how to speed up or slow down, and you can actually manage your business much when it's under control.
Get some more sleep at night, I think, would be the best one.
That's probably the way to put it.
So I am going to keep, we're doing well on time. You were worried that you would talk too much. I was worried too. We'll still see if we can try. Anyone who knows me always knows that if you're going to get into a conversation, you're going to leave with a to-do list. And in a very similar way, there are steps you can take right now to start working on getting your business investor ready. Maybe it's 5 years down the line, but the steps you take this month are going to save you a year. So please don't ignore this. We've watched people go, I'm sure I'll get on to that next month and next month and next month. And, you know, it's a year later and they're like, oh, I still haven't done that stuff. We are not talking about anything new here. We're talking about business fundamentals that have been around from a long, long time. So I wanted to give you some simple steps to take for this. Number one, a team interview. You should have a third party. Please don't do it yourself. They're not going to tell you the truth. Interview everyone on your team. Are they happy? Where do they see their role? What do they want to do in the future? What are their strengths? So maybe you could Google, you know, team interviews or how to interview my team. You could actually just get that third party person, maybe a HR consultant or an expert, to come into the business and do a bit of a chat and come back to you with, look, this is where that person would like to move over to another role, or this person is actually thinking of leaving. So you can start to factor things in. They're not going to tell you the truth. Don't even try and do these yourself. Number one, team interview. Number two, service delivery analysis. I think this, for me, has been the biggest revelation of working with inbound agencies. The service delivery process is actually the key. It's the key in our business. It's how do you execute? Can you execute with confidence? Can your salesperson go out and know that if they sell 3 new deals this week, that those are going to be serviced with confidence and delivered in a way that the agency makes that salesperson look good? Because if a salesperson thinks for 1 minute that a deal is going to not be delivered properly, it does stop them selling, and the whole thing can just spiral out of control. Service delivery analysis. Have you got the right procedures and everything in place when it comes to delivery? The next one would be a financial dashboard, which we've all know and love and talk. Can you press a button today and get all the financial information of your agency, pulling all the information from HubSpot, from your CRM, from your spreadsheets, from your invoicing, from your time tracking, from your project management tool? Like, if you have all these tools, are they seamlessly working together to give you a visualization today and future of your financials? The importance of this, Joakim, huge.
Yeah, but not only to get it up and running, but it's also to know what to look for.
Right.
And I also what to act on whatever comes out of the dashboard. So what information does this give me? What do I need to do?
Yeah. Which client, and doing this not just for the whole business, but by client.
Oh, definitely. We've seen so many. I mean, just analyzing each client and understanding which ones do we really need to protect. They might be sitting silent and thinking that we're paying a lot, we're not really getting a lot of value, and looking around, and you think these are our best paying clients. Huge risk. Or you might be sitting on 3, 4, 5 clients that's consuming 3 times as much time as planned without you really getting a grip on it, and feeling a little bit scared to take the discussion with the client, saying, listen, we need to reorganize the way we work with you. Maybe we cannot do all these support calls. We can do it, do it once a week under a controlled manner. Anything above that will be a separate support package that you need to buy from us. There are so many ways to discuss and look through. Okay. But that has a huge impact on your business.
Yeah. Reviewing your specialization. Are you being specialized enough? As we talked about, the market is maturing. In the beginning, you could just say inbound marketing for any industry. You believe now, I think we all agree, now is the time not only to specialize so that your client knows you are the expert. Your own staff are going to get better and better if you do pick a couple of niches and get really good at those. And an investor, potentially in the future, will know that you have made a commitment. You are an expert in something, and therefore you're of high value to the clients that you bring on board. Review your specialization. Customer interviews, not just case studies, getting out there with a video and recording on audio, actually interviewing your customers that you've had success with and sharing those stories in multiple ways, and unlocking how you could do it for other clients is now part of your investor success story, not just your sales collateral. Project management tool. I have this conversation on many, many times. It really isn't the tool as such. It's just to have one. We could recommend lots of different ones, and we do recommend lots of different ones. It's not really about the tool. It's about taking the tool, using the tool, everyone using the tool all the time, every time. It could be a spreadsheet. It doesn't actually matter, but it could be, a really high-end project management tool. It's not really about the tool. It's about using the tool every day, all the time. And with a good tool, having really good procedures. And again, anyone who knows me, I've been banging on about traction, you know, the entrepreneurial operating system for years since I found it. Great methodology on how to run any business, from a cafe to an inbound agency to software as a service company. Getting your procedures good, just a good book to start off understanding procedures. And the final one, which I threw in here, because this is something I'm having to learn how to do and share with people as well, is be an agency owner. Yes, you might have started out the business doing really good web work. You might have started out being the salesperson. You might have started out being the marketing person. If you are the owner of the business or part owner of the business, you are the owner of the business. You are not the owner and the delivery person. You're not the owner and the salesperson as well. Like, yes, you can help the salespeople, but you really shouldn't have a tactical role in your business right now, as in dual jobbing, you know, depending on the size you are. In the beginning, obviously, yes, but as you mature, you should have a plan in place to go on, as soon as we hit this number, I'm going to get a dedicated salesperson in and a dedicated marketing person in. Because as an agency owner, if 2/3 of your cost is involved in your staff, where do you think 2/3 of your time should be? With your staff. Developing them, talking to them, networking with them, supporting them, all of that, because they're 2/3 of your business. So again, if you don't like them, what are they on board for? You know, if they don't like you, well, then they might be not a good fit for your business. So being an agency owner, it's the time to do it right now. And they're the steps that you have to take. And we have time for questions. We have a few minutes left. And what I'll do is, I saw a little question come through here. Brilliant. Anonymous question. Ooh, I like this. When growing, you're investing your profit to growth. I think this model is not really suitable for high growth companies. What is your take on that?
No, there is a good point in that. And then again, given the clarity that you can provide, saying, yes, we have grown. So many times I've seen this model, this argument being used as an excuse for not showing a healthy bottom line. But normally, digging into it, it's not really that all the money has been consumed to grow. It's also that it's being consumed because things have not been in order. So to some extent, yes, that is correct, that if you're up and running and have a stable cash flow, that's also the way this reflects in the model, is that you can add in that, yes, we're going to grow our top line because we made investment in the growth. So the top line will grow substantially over the next 2, 3, 4 years, and then it will be growing at a stable rate. So it will be reflected in the model to some extent. But I think don't just use that as an excuse. A lot of other people are looking on valuing the people and saying that we're worth so much per employee and so much. But at the end, it is the cash flow that matters. You want to, from an investment perspective, you want to see what future cash flow can this bring back. So there might be, of course, you could find probably 6 or 10 different valuation models and put them in. These are the ones that we have seen, and it sort of adds up with the multiples on revenue, which seems to be quite similar, around 1 times revenue.
Yeah.
I don't know if that applies to the questions.
I believe so. But that's definitely answered for us. If there's any other questions that anyone would like to ask, please add them in there. We're happy to answer them. Or if you actually want to email them to us, there's another one there. Let's just grab that one too, Astrid. Do we have a systematic methodology to support your agency to grow it and may attract an investment? Yes, we do have a systematic methodology, Astrid, which is about the 5 pillars, and I can definitely follow that up with you later on, which is, well, there's actually a couple of things we can do. We believe in getting your strategy right, your growth, which is all around your financials. We look at your services, and then we analyze your sales and your marketing. So it's actually just those 5 pillars is what we dig into, and we do it systematically. No, we can't answer this on this webinar. So what I'll do, Astrid, is I'll follow up with you directly and share it with some examples of how we would do that. But thanks for asking. And I am going to, any other questions you have, you can just reach out to me on Clodagh at the Grow It Group. I'm going to wrap us up here because we're going to be a nice under 45 minutes, which would be fantastic. Thanks everyone for staying. Most people have stayed, which I love to see. So number one, if you want to meet up with us, we're all going to Inbound. I'm actually speaking this year again, which I'm delighted about. So if any of this is of interest to you, I'm going to be sharing how to, the formula for success of an inbound agency, what you need to set up. We'll go into this in a lot deeper detail for about 45 minutes on the Wednesday, just after lunch. When I'm sending out this recording, I'll send out a link to that talk if you're going to Inbound. If you're not going to Inbound, we actually have a health check for you if you wanted to analyze this. Astrid, this is probably something I would suggest if you wanted to get started with as well, where you would answer some questions and we will give you an analysis of the focus areas. 9 times out of 10, when we're working with businesses, believe it or not, the sales and marketing is kind of way down the end. It really is their services or their growth or the actual strategy part that needs addressing. Because you've worked with HubSpot, you've done a great job with your sales and marketing. Sales and marketing generally isn't really the problem. It needs a little bit of tweaking.
Possibly more towards being able to sell retainers, which is sometimes a challenge, and also how to onboard clients and presenting them these huge retainer contracts. How do you get them to actually tip over to accept
pricing
that?
And packaging? It's fine tuning. But they're the other areas. So you can do a health check online. We can facilitate with that. And then finally, for a second talk, because I'm going to do these monthly, all going well, might be able to. We'll see. On the 12th of October, 2 p.m. GMT. Apologies if everyone was confused by the time. I think it was my fault coming to another location and setting up. I'll get it better next time. We're going to do some post-inbound insights for agencies. We'll have come back with a lot of new things and a lot of exciting things. So we're going to boil that down into, well, what should you focus on this year? And what maybe should you put in the parking lot for next year and beyond? So we'll do a bit of a chat around, there's lots of new things because HubSpot loves doing that at Inbound. How will we break that down? So put that in the diary and we'll send out a reminder for it as well and a sign up and send it on to anyone as well. And that is the first talk of Inbound Agency Life. Growing inbound businesses one talk at a time.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
And see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I felt really